Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to a long career mode video. We're going to be talking about FC26 career mode, my experience of playing career mode in FC26, the gameplay itself, not just the new career mode features, authentic gameplay versus competitive gameplay. We've got the career mode deep dive pitch notes that we're going to go through. And by the way, there is so much in this deep dive. I don't think people realize just how long it must have taken the developers to actually build this pitch notes. It's incredible. The amount of detail they're giving us, it's more than we've ever had in the history of this franchise, if you ask me. And we can really look into all of the new features and quality of life improvements. So this is going to be a very long video. I hope you're going to enjoy it. I was thinking about separating it into two parts. We'll see how we go, because I know we don't want hours of just talking. I've also got an interview with Andreas, who works on career mode. He's the line producer at EA, and he was very kind to give me 10, 15, 20 minutes of his time to ask him some questions. So that will come in this video as well. Sit back, relax, and let's do this. I'm just going to go for it. There's going to be no fancy editing. We're just going to be talking career mode, the game mode that we all love. So PSG featuring heavily here. I love that new kit. And actually, funny enough, you know how FC is all about the triangle and the triangular patterns they use? It's exactly what, well, it's kind of like diamonds and triangles, isn't it? Not that it really matters, but here's just the table of contents. There's just so much to go through here. It doesn't look like much, but trust me, the amount of detail they've gone into with the Manager Live events feature, it's pretty incredible. So first of all, if you haven't seen my video from Friday, please check it out. It's watching their reveal and then giving a brief explanation of all the new features and my thoughts, and then come back to this video where we can dive into it in more detail. I'm going into this thinking that everyone's watching is aware of what these new features are, okay? And we can just go into more details. So one of the things that a lot of career mode players don't have and have never had in the past is a reason, a genuine reason or an objective or a goal that gets them excited to jump onto career mode, unless it's just their favorite team or maybe they just want to win the treble. And basically, if they've got their own made up, created goal in mind. Well, now in FC26, with the Manager Live events, there are actual reasons to log into career mode and actually play, because the game is going to offer up challenges and events for you to complete, to earn rewards, getting experience in the season pass, to unlock retro kits, to unlock heroes and icons that you can use in career mode. And the variety of these events is pretty mind-blowing. So when I was at the event, I played a couple of them. I briefly mentioned one in the last video, where I could only use players under the age of 24. So all of a sudden, when I was going through my squad hub, all of the players 25 or more were just unusable, could not use them. And there's plenty of other things that they can restrict nations, or you can only sign players of a specific nation, or you only have a certain amount of money to spend, or you can only use players over 30. There's just, it's unlimited. It's actually quite scary, the amount of things they can do. Now, obviously, I'm not going to read through every single word here, but you can just see how much they're going into detail here. So, first of all, when you start up the game, you're going to be able to create a profile of some sort. So basically create yourself, your own manager, which will then always feature in that top right corner of the menu. Was there an image up here that had it? Hang on, I think it's a little bit further down. I've had a little read through. Yeah, so here we've got Pete O. So whenever he's going through manager mode events or creating a new career mode or live start point or whatever, you're going to have your pre-made manager profile in that top right corner, which is something I've wanted for a while, because it's so annoying creating a new manager every time you do a career mode if you're not wanting to use an already licensed real manager. Luckily with, just doing random fun career modes, you can just use, Mikel Arteta, Pep Guardiola, whoever. But when you want to create your own manager, you have to keep doing it. Well, that is not going to be a thing anymore. They've got a couple of videos up on the pitch notes here. So basically, he's creating his manager, his profile, and it then saves it into the top right corner. So this is a look at what some of the events could look like. Let me just pause on one here. So this is called the Road to Glory. Embark on the Road to Glory to take your team to historic UEFA Champions League glory. Get promoted before a certain date. You must win any league one or more times by a certain date, and you must win a Champions League one or more times by a certain date. So that is just one of these random events. Obviously, they don't have the kit put in the game just yet in this version of the game. What have we got here? Jamal's double. Lead Bayern Munich to a domestic double spearheaded by Jamal Musiala. You must win the Bundesliga one or more times. You must win the DFB Pokal one or more times. And you have to include Jamal Musiala in your starting 11 for 25 matches. You need to tick off every objective to complete this. And I should say, when you've completed these challenges, even if you don't complete them and you don't manage to get the reward, you can still just continue the career mode with the team. It doesn't just end. And that was really important for me. Imagine you've completed an event or a challenge that's taken you multiple seasons, and then you just kind of have to finish up and you can't continue. What if you've built something incredible and you want to continue playing for 10 seasons? Well, you can. There's a few more here. Top at Christmas, transfer improvements, pre-season trophy, winning with youth. There really is just an unlimited amount of features that can be disabled, enabled, restrictions. For example, here, disabled features in this one. Manager market is disabled, no icons and heroes. You cannot use create your own club. And here are some conditions of this feature. I can't see the name. I think this is the Jamal's double one. Can only sign players from Germany under the age of 23 and can only use the wing play tactical vision. So it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? And here you've got parameters such as the minimum difficulty has to be professional. So some of these might be world class, might be legendary. Imagine that. Maybe an ultimate difficulty only one. That would be interesting. The board expectations will be set to strict. Same with referee strictness. So there's all sorts of things you really need to keep an eye out on. What else do we have here? More parameters here. So there's no match restarting, minimum difficulty, strict, disabled financial takeover. And look at this, disabled features, no quick sim, no tactical view, no attacking highlights, no icons and heroes, no simming, no playing highlights, no create your club. It's going to be really tricky. Some of these events might genuinely be a proper challenge. And what I want in the future, because it's not in this game, can confirm there isn't a leaderboard or a way to see how quickly your friends achieved a challenge or completed a challenge. And I think that's definitely something that needs to come in the future. We need a way to, make it competitive. I want to see how quickly someone else has completed a challenge and see if I can beat it. And quickly, I should mention as well, and I've talked about it in the interview that you'll see, I asked about the potential of being able to create my own challenge and then share it to my viewers with a code. And not just me, but anyone making an event should be able to then save it to a code and then send it to people. Imagine being able to make your own challenges. Imagine an MGH Road to Glory challenge where I disable certain features and make it ultimate team only, ultimate difficulty only. And then I could give you guys some sort of giveaway reward for being the top in the leaderboard. There's so many great things to come from this. And I think people need to remember that some features that come into the game, they might come in at a very base level. This, I think, is actually a very high level feature. This is a lot, okay? But the things they can then attach to these new features over the next few years and build on, that is what it's all about. So you've got to have FC 27 and 28 and 29 in mind when they put some of these new features in. Just imagine how good this could be in a year or two when they've really fleshed it out even more. So we've got a lot more information here. We've already talked quite a lot about some of the things that can be disabled. Here we've got a Juventus retro kit that you can win for doing the European Elites event. Take charge and lead an established European club to a top 4 finish. So they mentioned it in the reveal. Some events are going to pick the club for you. Some events will be you can pick whoever you want to play as long as it fits within the restrictions, right? So that's definitely a good thing. More things that you can see that are disabled here and a different objective. Reach at least position 8 in starting league by 30th of June. So there's different start dates. Obviously, we're going to get events popping up over the next 12 months when the game comes out. There's going to be all sorts of events coming out. Here's a team selection. I love the new design here in the menu. Very, very nice indeed. Let's keep going down here. Cup competition events. So it could be just Carabao Cup. It could be just Champions League. It doesn't have to be the entire career mode and all the leagues, you know, but it could be as well. Feature settings, disabling, enabling trading plans. You could have no scouting allowed. You could have no manager market, which is a new feature as well. I mean, they can disable specific play methods like we've already talked about. Okay, let's keep going down now. Team management limiters. This was what I was talking about. I did a Sunderland event. So the event was like a youth road to glory type thing where I had to win the league within 3 seasons using players only under the age of 24. And obviously Sunderland have quite a young squad, but they also have a few of the older players and I just couldn't use them. And I was going through the squad hub and it would just say player too old. And it was hilarious seeing a 25-year-old be too old. And basically, you either had to sell the player, release the player, or put them in the reserves. You could not include them in your match day team. And that is so cool. It is so, so cool. I mean, it's all well and good pretending that that's what you're doing and then just selling players or whatever. But the fact the game is physically restricting you, you can't cheat. You can't just, oh, whatever, I'll just play my 30-year-old, whatever. You can't do that. They're literally locked out and they're blocked. Blocked players. They're unavailable, similar to when they're injured or suspended, basically. Transfer limits, love that. We've already talked about one of the conditions we saw earlier, you know, only signing players from Germany. I think there was one where it was trying to find like a new Ødegaard. You had to sign an attacking midfielder from Norway that had a certain potential, and then you had to play them in a certain amount of games. It's just unlimited. There's just so much they can do with this. Tactical limiters as well. You know, you can only play counter-attacking football, things like that. Job limiters as well. Yeah, I love that. You might be forced to move on. More objectives there. So, you know, get promoted by a certain date, win a league by this date. And let's keep going down here. Must win a set trophy. Yeah. Another few examples here. You must have the average age of a certain age, score a set amount of goals, concede a certain amount of goals. There's going to be clean sheet, things like that. Must spend a set amount of money on transfers. You must earn a set amount of money. I mean, look, there's just so many parameters. Absolutely crazy. Mid-season scenarios. So here are some examples of that. Derby drama. Manage a team in a high-stakes derby match, such as the El Clasico, whatever, North London derby. Shock of the week, relive a giant-killing FA Cup result and replicate the upset. So this is an important thing as well. Some of these live events might just be a couple of weeks in a career mode. They might be just one game. They could be a whole season. It could be 3 seasons. It could genuinely be 5 seasons to take a team from League 2 to the Championship. Or there's just a never-ending amount of different things they can do here. Historical achievements, so replicating famous seasons, famous teams. Go unbeaten in the league with Juventus or Bayer Leverkusen. And here's another example of a challenge being completed, and you receive a Paris retro kit. Yeah, I love it. I think it's such a good idea, and just as I said before, it just gives you a reason to log in. It gives you a reason to boot up the game and play a career mode. You might see that there's a new challenge live. Maybe they've put a post out on X or Instagram, and it's like, look, there's a new event, and it's take PSG from 4th to 1st in 5 games. Go on, do it, and you can earn this, and you can get this icon, and you can get this XP, and there's a reason to actually play, which I think is just really, really cool. Okay, let's move on to the next part. So a new era for manager career. That's the live hub again. Okay, so here's a little bit more information in terms of playing a career mode with icons and heroes. We already discussed how you're going to be unlocking heroes and icons by doing these challenges. And there's going to be other ways to unlock icons. For example, you can pre-order the game and get a couple of icons. So eventually you're going to be able to hopefully unlock all of the icons and heroes that you want. And then you can start a career mode and just choose which icons and heroes you want in the team and just place them in the squad. Now there's a video down here. So this is someone starting a career mode using icons and heroes. Loading it up, you pick the players that you want. And then if I skip forwards, does it show them in the team? Oh, it doesn't show them in this video. Here it is. So in this video, you can see we're in the team management here, and look at this. Bale, Ronaldo, Zidane, Beckham. Not many defenders. He's going to put Puskas up front with Ronaldo and Figo on the right side. Insane. Absolutely insane. And for sure, I want to build like an Arsenal Invincibles, you know, get Henry, Vieira. I think Gilberto Silva's coming as a hero soon as well. And Ashley Cole and Campbell and all of these guys. I think that's going to be so much fun. Here's a little bit of gameplay. I don't know what difficulty it's on, but this is with authentic gameplay. You can see it's a bit heavier, a bit slower. The animations just look so much better, if you ask me. And here we've got Mbappe over to Vinny, into Ronaldo, over to Mbappe, and then it's a nice finish to equalize after 23 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be so cool. Oh, and this is new as well. You're going to see things flashing up showing you how many goals a certain player has scored throughout that season or whatever. All right, so manager market. This is the second feature, the third feature we're going to talk about after manager live events and icons and heroes. The manager market is basically, instead of players being transferred, it's managers. You're going to be able to go into the manager market, go into jobs overview and see all of the clubs, all of the teams, the way they're playing with their tactic, which manager's there, and how secure they are. If a team is really struggling, their manager most likely is going to be at risk of losing their job. And you can then apply for any of those jobs where, you know, if a club is looking to sack their manager, it will say the manager's insecure or at risk. You can then apply to join, and they might then do the deal. It's not just a case of waiting for a club to be open. There's going to be clubs that have a caretaker manager. That's the word I was looking for. So you might see, like, for example, here, Brighton, they've got Fabian Herzl here, but there could be at some point a random name that you've never heard of because it's a caretaker manager. And therefore, it's quite likely if you apply and you've got a good CV, let's say, a good history with clubs, they could just hire you. You are going to see caretaker managers actually hired if they do a good job. But obviously, you're going to have to make sure you're applying for roles that are likely to accept you. There's no point going for Real Madrid when you're at Scunthorpe and they're doing really well. You're not going to get that job. In fact, I don't think you'll even be allowed to apply. It has to be when their job security is at risk. But it's such a cool feature. Really, really good idea. And finally, we're going to see when we go into matches, new managers on the touchline that you weren't expecting. Imagine you're about to take on Bournemouth and you notice they've got Unai Emery there. It's just a cool, realistic thing. We see managers moving a lot. As far as I know, there's no way to control how often it happens. Again, you'll see in the interview with Andreas, and again, I'm so thankful he was able to give me that time, because I could ask him questions like, how crazy can it get? After 5 seasons, is it unheard of having a manager that's in that role in real life still there? Are we going to see just a completely different game year after year? Is it going to be chaos? And he gave some very good answers to that. So, yeah, we're going to be able to move jobs a lot more easily. And to be fair, it gives you another reason to continue a career mode. You might just be bored of doing your Arsenal career mode and you just fancy something new. And instead of trying to get sacked or starting a new career mode and just, I guess, hoping maybe if you're still doing the career mode that you get an offer for a team that you like, you've got so much more control of it. You can actually go in, pick and choose effectively. Again, loads of information here. It's not just randomly selected stuff. There are actual things at play here in the background that causes managers to be sacked and hired. So make sure if you want to read all of this, you click the link in the description to go to the pitch notes. So here you can see job security, available, hiring likelihood, certain. We've got 3 options in this situation. So I think we're Newcastle here. Eleanor Daniels, because there's a star there. I'm presuming that's the club you're at. You're safe. Interesting. So you'd be leaving them out of the blue, unless this is just maybe they're tracking the stats or something. I'm not sure. I'm pretty certain that means that's the controlled team. But here you can add to watch. So you can actually just keep a list of clubs that you want to track. pick the competition, manage transfers, change the league, but obviously you can just apply for the job. And if it's certain, you are getting that job. Really, really cool. And there you can see the job offer from Man City popping up on screen there. Lots more information. Here's a new thing that pops up. You actually sign the contract. This is, I mean, this is bringing back memories. Who remembers when you would sign a player and you'd see the manager scribble at the end and signing a contract and things like that? It's so cool. And here is declaring interest. So it might be that the club isn't certain to hire you, but what you can do is just reach out and just declare interest, and maybe they'll email you saying, yeah, apply. We'd like you. Or maybe, sorry, even if you applied, we wouldn't be interested. Your experience isn't good enough or whatever. So data, guys. We have more stats than ever before. Finally, now we can go back in time and have a look at how players were performing in recent seasons. We can track how players are doing in terms of goals scored, assists, match rating, and things like that. So this is something called deeper simulation. Now, I tested this quite a lot. When you go into your settings before you start a career, if you turn on the deeper simulation, you can then go into a new menu, which allows you to select up to 5 leagues. Obviously, I was doing the Sunderland career mode, so I selected Premier League, Championship. I think I then went Spain, France, Germany, I think, or maybe Italy was in there instead of France, and simulating a few seasons. And I was then able to go in and look at all of the stats for those 5 leagues. Now, hopefully in the future, they will extend it. I think this is a console issue where they just can't have much more data. There is only so much they can do. So I know people are going to be disappointed that you can't just go into any league. But this is why it's important that you pick 5 leagues that you really want to track. And I could see how players have been getting on. You could see a trend of how players were doing. Maybe they were struggling a little bit in the last season, but the few seasons before then they were doing really well. And obviously you can just turn this feature off completely. So here is a look at adding leagues. It's very reminiscent of Football Manager. And again, they have issues of just how much data they can actually allow you to track, just because, well, it's a lot. And here is a look at what this will look like. So this is obviously the Premier League top scorers list. You've got assists, you've got clean sheets, yellow cards, red cards, and you're just seeing how players are doing. And once again, whilst you're in this menu, you are able to view their bio. You can see more stats. So it will show you the team stats. You can pick competition, change season, all of that stuff there. And when let's say you're looking at Marmoush like he is here, you can just press X to view the bio and then scout them right from here. You don't have to back out and search for a name. Really, really love that. And then, yeah, average ratings was the other one you could see up here, beginning with A. Average ratings, which I think is actually the most important. You can have someone scoring an obscene amount of goals, but if their average rating is quite low, it might be that he just banged in 7 goals in one game in the cup, and you're being led astray there a little bit. I think it's important that you look at all the stats, but most importantly, the average rating needs to be high. And what I will say as well, I think there's a better way of tracking how players are doing in FC26 in terms of match ratings. It's now easier for defenders to get higher ratings by doing defensive actions, and midfielders doing defensive actions as well. So that's really, really good. Looks really nice as well. I loved this as well. There's a new design. When you look at the league table, it's more appropriately blocked out, so you can see much more clearly who's, in the Champions League, who's in the Europa League, and of course, Arsenal 5th here. Evil. How dare they? Everything just looks really neat. Is it me, or is there just more space? It's not so cluttered, So here we've got scouting actions and player stats improvements. Just in general, I think they've made some improvements here in terms of scouting, the ease of scouting. Adding players to your shortlist is easier than ever before. Quick links to see team stats, so you can see if maybe this player is just having a one-off or if the whole team is performing well. I think that's really good to see. So this is where things get very interesting for me. The game has been split into authentic gameplay, which effectively you can call it offline gameplay, and then competitive, which is more for Ultimate Team, where you want to be playing rivals and champs in Ultimate Team and things like that. So The way they've explained it here, Authentic is a gameplay treatment dedicated to career mode, aiming to replicate the speed, granularity, and increased variety encountered in real-life matches. Everything is just a bit more simulated, a bit more real, slower, heavier. The players feel heavier. That's the best way I can describe it. Whereas competitive, if you prefer the faster pace of online modes like Ultimate Team, select the competitive gameplay type. It means it's more manual. Defending is more manual. There's less. So, for example, animations, okay, they're a big problem when it comes to responsiveness, that feeling of actually inputting something and it being done. Animations have been tweaked so much in this year's game, depending on Authentic and competitive. In Authentic gameplay, the animations are a bit slower, a bit heavier, way more realistic. Whereas in Ultimate Team, for example, if you rainbow flick the AI in Authentic, they might get a bit shocked and a bit they stumble a bit when the ball goes over their head. And then in competitive, that does not happen because you're in control of that player, and it's got to be more fair, hasn't it? Whereas offline, does it matter if you rainbow flicker an AI defender and he stumbles slowly? It doesn't really matter, does it? But in online, you want to be in control of your defenders all the time. And I mentioned this in Friday's video. The fact that they've split these two apart is huge when it comes to patches, when it comes to balancing. What EA can do now is identify issues in separate areas of the game and patch them, and it won't directly affect everyone else. So, for example, for the last God knows how long, whenever there's been an issue with Ultimate Team gameplay, people are complaining. Let's be honest, most people play online Ultimate Team, right? When there's an issue with gameplay and EA need to patch it, whether it's a shooting mechanic's broken or passing's too slow or whatever, whenever they would make those changes to make Ultimate Team more fair or just better or worse or whatever, it would affect career mode. And there was a massive issue in the last game. And I remember talking to the developers while I was there. They were absolutely gutted. They had to do some work with Ultimate Team gameplay. There was a massive glaring issue. And the patch they created to fix it, to alleviate those issues, it hurt career mode and offline gameplay so badly. Who remembers when you were playing career mode and you were winning games like 8-5, 7-6? There was too many goals. It's because they had to patch Ultimate Team to make it better, and we were sacrificed, unfortunately. And now that's just not an issue. They've completely fixed it by just separating them. So if in career mode we're not enjoying a certain aspect of the game, bang, they can patch that. It won't affect Ultimate Team. It won't affect competitive. And the other way around. Massive. And they can make changes to the sliders, for example. So if you're playing on Authentic, it will give you a choice of playing on your own sliders or their own sliders. If it's not feeling quite right, they can patch it. And within a week, boom, it's live. Obviously, they have to go through the consoles. Like Sony and Microsoft won't allow patches just like that. They need to test it and whatever. So it's going to be a lot quicker than ever before, which I think is one of the best things ever. So here is a list of Authentic features. So when you're playing on Authentic, you have more intelligent defending from AI teammates. So it's going to hold your hand a little bit more, but that's to give you a more true simulation experience. Obviously, in competitive, you want to be controlling the defenders yourself. It has to be more manual. That's what competitive is all about. Whereas this means it's going to be so much better. It is much better. I've played it. Retuned the pacing of skill moves. They're a lot slower. It's not so just in your face, Berber spin, bye. You've actually got to think about your skill moves. Authentic player reactions to in-game situations. I truly felt that when I was flicking between them. Players just react differently when the ball's coming to them in the air. They don't do these stupid headers or chest and flicks as much. They have to control it. Otherwise, the ball just goes everywhere. It's so much better. Increased influence of physics on ball movement. The ball just goes wild, and misplaced passes, misplaced headers, all sorts. Various tuning changes to account for more authentic pacing on and off the ball. Yeah, players don't feel so quick or so slow. Everything just feels a lot more realistic. You know, when you're watching a real football match, yes, there are quicker players and yes, there are slower players, but it's not a completely insane difference. Not all the time, at least. It felt more balanced. Okay, your faster players are still quick, but the slower players can still play. They can still catch up at times, and it's so much better. Realistic impact of fatigue on player performance. Can I talk about... I'm not sure if that's been talked about yet, so I'm just going to be safe and skip that, the fatigue thing. There are some changes with fatigue and stamina and things like that. Here are the custom sliders, which you can still tune yourself, of course. Now, this is what I think a lot of people are going to be interested in. First of all, you can turn this off. Don't worry. You don't have to have unexpected events. But effectively, whilst you're playing career mode, these moments are just going to pop up, and you can adjust how often they come up. You can have the frequency set to low, medium, or high, or you can just turn it off. Injury crisis, dodgy meals where players have got food poisoning, unhappy players, unsettled players, wage leaks. There's all sorts of these crisis moments where you have to make a split decision. It could be right before a big game and you're losing your top player. For once, it's not just going to be, oh, your player's out for 6 months with an ACL, unlucky. It can literally be the night before a game, there's not even training, there's not even a game going on before, and a player just suddenly cannot be used. It's brutal. I've tried it. It's absolutely brutal, but I loved it. I turned it up to high. I wanted lots of these things, and it gives you something else to do as a manager and actually makes you feel more like a manager. New ownership can come up as well for Tottenham. Ugh. Homesick player. Yeah. Live start points. There's going to be even more now. There's 20 leagues. Contract renewal updates. Players will no longer be willing to renew their contracts at any time during their tenure at the club. They will instead reach out to you when they are open to begin talks on a new deal. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot more tricky now. But I think it's a good idea. AI lineup logic improvements. These are all these little things that they might not talk about in the 5-minute reveal trailer, but you guys can obviously read through the pitch notes yourself. Transfer logic improvements. So the transfers are going to be better. Oh, this is a huge one. You are now able to loan players out that you've just bought. We see it all the time at Chelsea. You can buy a player, loan them out. Love that. If you're buying a young player and you think they're not quite ready, instead of waiting for 6 months to a year to then loan them out, you can just loan them out straight away, which I think is huge. Tactical vision increased flexibility, which is always good. I felt it was quite limiting at times, and I ended up just playing on custom all the time. New cinematics and animations. So we're going to see a lot more of the managers in these cutscenes. There's fan zones. There's... In the Premier League, at least, when you do a Premier League match, there's a Google Earth camera where it zooms in on Google Earth and then flies into the stadium. It's a really, really cool feature. I don't know if they're going to show it here. I guess not. What else do we have here? Sharpness, energy, and training plans for national teams. I didn't even realize that wasn't a thing. So there you go. More customization and retro kits. Oh, and this was awesome. You know when you press the left trigger and it brings up the menu of things? You can edit that. You can put what you want in the quickly accessible bits of that menu, if that makes sense. Just create shortcuts. I really like that. Improved navigation, smoother exploration, and fewer accidental exits. One of the most annoying things with this new menu, this new UI, is that you constantly accidentally try and back out, don't you? No, I don't want to quit. Board objectives cleanup and manager sacking logic tweaks. So there has been a lot of frustration with the objectives, so they've changed that. Accurate second position recognition, improved out of position alerts. Huge, massively important. So frustrating when a player can play in another position, but when you put them there, they don't gain any stats. Dismiss contract renewal tasks. Cool. Save file timestamps. Love that. Injury integration in gameplay. We've expanded the range of injuries that can occur during matches. Youth tournament substitutions. That's new as well. Are many people playing these youth tournaments? I would argue not many people actually do this, but if you do, you can now make substitutions. New stadiums for those games as well. So if you're playing as Man City like they are here, you're going to get a different stadium. It's obviously a bit more of an impressive arena than just playing on a training pitch in the middle of nowhere. But if you're playing for a League Two team, you're going to have no stands. And obviously there's not going to be a full stadium as well. So any club with a worth of more than 500 million, 4.5 or 5 stars will play their youth matches in the upgraded facilities. So we've got the Argentinian League with the authentic format. We've got the UEFA Women's Champions League updated format. There's an onboarding revamp, team-colored emojis, manager date of birth in avatar creation, inbox notifications, staff market, coach refresh updates. And then they talked a little bit about player archetypes in player career, which obviously we're not going to talk about now. So my voice is literally dying. So much information. It can feel underwhelming at times when you watch these 5-minute trailers. But look, if they went through every single thing here, then the video would be an hour. And no one's going to watch all that. So I wouldn't be quick to judge. And I've really experienced something new by going to the Vancouver offices and meeting the people that build the game and put the pitch notes up. And they really do care. And there's a lot of new things that will not get mentioned in the video. So before people judge and say, oh, it's underwhelming, oh, there's not enough, there's a lot. There's more than you think. And can I just say as well, FC27, if it's anything like we're getting in FC26, this direction we're going in, we're on a great path to make a fantastic career mode. We're really fleshing out these features now, and I cannot wait to see what's coming next year. But what I'm going to do now, guys, is play the interview. So just a reminder, this was at the EA event 2 weeks ago. I only had a limited amount of time to sit down with Andreas. I was a little bit nervous. It's the first time I've done an interview, and it was out of nowhere. I was sat watching the women's, oh my God, Euros. I couldn't get the word out. And they said, oh, we've got a few minutes. Do you want to come and interview Andreas? So I didn't have much time to prepare questions. I kind of winged it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the insight. Please be kind in the comments. He's such a nice guy. They're all amazing people there. And he didn't have to do this interview. So hopefully you guys can learn something from it, get some insight from someone who loves career mode and has worked on it for so long. And let's see what he's got to say. Guys, I've got an interview with Andreas, line producer on career mode. How's it going?
Yeah, going really well.
Busy few days.
Fun event, busy few days, lots of interviews, but that's the fun of it.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time because we can talk about career mode. Everyone watching is itching. What's new this year, and what are your thoughts?
So I think it's a really good year for career mode. I think it's this year, and you know that where we really listened to the community, and I feel we really did listen
feedback,
to the community.
Yeah.
The feedback, like again, there's so much exciting things. It's manager market. It's one of my personal favorites. Like being a career mode player myself. Finally seeing managers switch teams, seeing the crazy things that we happen to see in the real world of football, and then the one I think that many will go like, it's nice you talk about manager market, but what about data and being able to actually now have 5 simulated leagues for data is really great to see. I think
being able to see stats of other leagues and cherry picking signings and seeing there's one particular striker that's killing it in Spain. Instead of just randomly going for some players that you might know in real life or whatever, you can actually use the stats in game. I love that.
Yeah, and also doing it directly from the stats screen. So that for me was such a nice quality of life improvement of not having to go then to scout, remember the name of the player, searching again, but just going like, hey, I liked his stats. Let's scout him or let's put him on my short list. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I guess I had a couple of questions regarding the manager swapping and the managers being sacked and hired. How much movement is there going to be in terms of randomly checking halfway through the season? You're happy with your job, but you're just interested to see what's going on in the market. Is it going to be really active?
So the plan is for it, and again, we have a lot of tuning right now, is that it kind of starts happening from October, November, because that's what you see in the real world.
Yeah, it'd be too soon otherwise, Yeah,
it's like, because usually, and it's in September, everyone is safe. In October, you see...
Giving them a chance,
In October, you hear the first interviews of, there's no problem with the manager, everything is going well, and then the releases usually started happening. So that's something we also want to reflect, is that kind of by October, November, the clubs are really evaluating how the managers are doing. That's where you see the status changing. And then it really depends on how managers are doing. If someone who, for example, would be expected to be in the top 4 is like in a relegation battle, then definitely his job would be in an insecure status and kind of would already be available, because that's the other thing we did, and you've seen it for user manager. If you want to apply somewhere else, as soon as a job is at insecure level, you can start applying for it. Because
Yes.
we want to reflect real life. I know clubs always say, "Oh, we don't talk to other managers." We know how it is in the real life.
It's
they
all
kind
very
of
hush.
are scouting, so that's something we want to bring into. So you will basically from November, December on, you should see the first things happening of releases and so on. That kind of kicks off the manager carousel. A little bit delayed because we have caretaker managers, which is another exciting part of. We wanted really to bring into. It's not like someone leaves the football club and then the next week there's a new manager.
Yeah.
Normally it's an assistant manager taking over
For a short period of time.
for a short period. But as we've seen, also sometimes they actually keep the job because they're doing such.
They
a
do
great,
well enough. Okay.
They do well enough, so that's what we have in the game. Otherwise, the clubs start looking, and then they have different ways of doing this. They could look in the free agent market that might exist because some managers might have already been
Yes.
released, so they could snatch a free agent.
And,
But
and these are randomly generated free agents.
no, the free agents are at the beginning. We don't have a free agent market, so it first needs some managers released to be in the
Yes.
free agent
Yeah, of
market, and
course.
then we have free agents. So they could look for that.
Okay.
But they could also just decide, you know what, the manager of this other club is very interesting. Let's
Trying
get
to
him.
approach them. Yeah.
Which then could mean that club is starting to look for a manager. And that's how the whole carousel
and then the
is happening.
merry-go-round begins.
Yeah, yeah.
So how soon? I guess a lot of people when they start a career mode, they have an idea in mind, like I want to do this build with this club. I want to take this club this in a certain direction, but then they kind of lose interest very quickly. Maybe. How soon can you instantly start applying for other jobs?
So you can apply to any job that's on the market, basically. So if you see a job that's insecure, I mean, the thing is you will see an overview of all the leagues. So you could theoretically apply to any job that kind of might soon be open. So you will not be able to apply in September, October in the first season.
That's too soon, yeah.
But then November, December might already be some open positions. Again, it might not always be the most attractive positions also, because as we know, a lot of good teams are doing well usually, so they will be keeping their manager. But that is why we also brought in more factors than just performance in the league. So we also looked into, how is team morale doing, how are they doing, the clubs doing on the transfer market, because we also want to reflect a club is more than just being first in the league, and it can be that a manager might be second in the league and still is in danger because the club feels like he's not improving the club well enough how they want. So basically what we're bringing in is that every club has objectives they're looking for to be fulfilled, and that's kind of what those managers need to do, and otherwise they will get into danger as clubs. And that for me is the exciting part, because you might look into being like, oh yeah, I will never get the job at, I don't know, Man City because they're third in the league, but hey, there might be other factors playing into
Can you see what they're failing at?
No, you can't see what
So
they're
it just
failing
says insecure, whatever, but you can't see they're failing in the league or they failed to win a final.
at. Yeah, you can't see that.
Okay.
Not first year, maybe in the future, but the idea is also to keep it a bit of a secret, because you
It
as a
doesn't really
manager-
matter, does it? If they're having a bad time,
Yeah, and it's
It doesn't
also
matter how.
it's a little bit of like you as another manager don't know what's going on in that club.
of course.
So it's more like going there and then seeing like, oh my god, this is what I
Okay,
have to
yeah,
cope
I like
with
that.
actually when I come there. Yeah.
So I'm fascinated thinking what it's going to look like in 5, 6, 7 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's going to be a ton of movement, but have you must have gone that far to test it and see what it's like?
Yeah, but-
Is it absolute mayhem?
It's not completely absolute main, but it is an interesting mix of transfers that you could see happening for managers, but also what we want to bring into is manager transfers where you first go like, oh, this is an interesting but a bit weird one, but then you start thinking about that's real world of football. Like my favorite example from last season is like, who would have thought that a manager that gets relegated with Burnley becomes the manager of Bayern
Vincent
Munich?
Company, yeah.
You know,
It's
like,
mental.
It's again, he's doing a great job at
Yes.
Bayern, but you wouldn't have counted it on your bingo card. That's who's becoming the manager.
If you saw that in career mode as a transfer, you'd be like, what? That doesn't make sense. Burnley to Bayern, they got relegated.
And I can give you one example. 5 seasons in, we had Guardiola managing Argentina, so he went to the national team of Argentina. And it's the one where you go like, yeah, this is a bit, and then you go like, but wait a minute, that could be interesting, and maybe he would decide to become a national team manager at one point, and maybe it would be, because Argentina is still a quality team that you could manage. And those are the things we saw. We saw my favorite, because it was a weird one, but I also went, oh, interesting, was Brendan Rodgers at Sporting.
Oh, that is a strange one.
So it was a strange one, but I think that's also the fun of it, is you will see a lot of realistic ones where managers go, I once had Guardiola go back to the Bundesliga and he picked Dortmund instead of Bayern, but he was at Dortmund and he was like, okay, he's at a top club, he's trying to build that club now, and I felt like, okay, that's nice. We saw Simeone at Chelsea at one point, and that was an interesting one.
I would hate to see that.
But
the defensive football. Oh.
Yeah, but we were like, wouldn't that be fun if he would be in the Premier League? If he would
no,
go
that's
there?
what I'm saying. No, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, but it was a realistic transfer where we got because he decided to leave. So it was that he was, and that's important since managers cannot only be fired, but they can also decide to
request to leave.
Yeah, because they're like, I've been doing this so long, I want a new challenge, so to speak. And he decided to leave, and then we were like, okay, wait. And that was the fun of simulating through it. We were like, okay, he's leaving. We know he's leaving. Let's see where he's ending up next season. And then he was at Chelsea, and we were like, oh, this is
what
interesting.
What about rivalries, though? So is Arteta going to go to Tottenham?
We have some factors that clubs might not hire certain managers, not immediately. He might go not directly, or he shouldn't go directly from Arsenal to Spurs, but he
maybe
might,
over the span of 10, 15 seasons, they could end up there.
Yeah, exactly. But we have some. It's the same of where we say some clubs will not hire certain tactical vision. So Barcelona wouldn't hire a Park the Bus manager. That just doesn't make sense for them.
Yeah.
But they might go for a gegenpressing manager, even though that's not that, and that's important to explain. So clubs will look for managers that fit their profile, meaning if I'm a top club, I want a top manager and fit their tactical vision. But sometimes you won't find that, and then they will start like, hey, who is still a top coach with a similar tactical vision that could fit us, and that's gegenpressing, for example. And then the interesting thing that's happening is that changes the club, because they change the formation, they change the tactics. They start looking for different players on the market because of the formation and tactics.
So we're going to see completely different setups over time.
Yeah, and it's even the shock seeing sometimes people on the sidelines. So I remember simulating on a weekend with my Frankfurt team and playing. And that's where I saw Pep on the sideline of Dortmund when I was playing against him. I'm like,
that is a strange one, yeah. I like it though.
I need to be prepared for it. It's Pep actually who's being there, and he just joined. So it was basically because the commentary basically said it's the first game for the new manager, and they showed Guardiola on the sideline, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting one.
That's really cool. Okay, so let's talk about Youth Academy, because I think this is a really popular topic with creators, but also most of the players. I guess this is more of a question going into next year's game. I know we're talking about FC26 and all the feedback that you've put into the game. Mm-hmm. I think one thing that a lot of my viewers want, and I really want, is almost a separation of your first team squad and then having a youth academy set up, almost like a B team. Is that something that's on your radar? Is that something we can expect to see in the next few years?
So the feedback is on our radar. We still wanted to do some setups for this year for youth. So I can just give two little quality of life improvements. You can now do substitutions in the youth team, in the youth tournament, which we had as an idea of like, hey, then you can rotate players a bit more during the matches.
That's good.
We also brought youth stadiums in, and youth stadiums meaning what you would expect from a club. So if it's a very low division club, it's more like a training pitch.
Yes.
While in Manchester City, so you would see an academy, club grounds, basically, with people in the audience. Of course, it's not.
It won't be full.
It won't be full. No. Yeah, but there will be people in the audience watching the youth academy match, and like we have some ideas and some talks with creators, as you know. Would it be that maybe you can put some people in the second squad, or will there be a second squad? Will it be that up until a certain age they can always go up and down if they want to?
Yeah, being able to call a player up, drop a player in.
Yeah, so there's some
ideas.
Like the one thing I don't want to do is always promise it for a certain title, because like what I'm not a fan of is saying, yeah, we really want to get it in this next year, and then people get excited, and then however it happens with you have to cut a feature, and this is the feature you have to cut, and then people go, but didn't you promise us this is coming this year? So that's just why I won't do it, but it's something on our radar and something we're thinking about with how we're expanding FC in the future and how we're expanding career mode, of like what are things we could bring in from the real world, because we are talking to clubs, we're talking to youth scouts, we're talking to how clubs are being run, and it's something we want to bring more and more into the game.
Okay. I think one thing I'd throw in there is it could be completely all randomly generated fixtures.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think people just want more control of having more academy players that aren't in the first team necessarily. I am going to ask you another one that's everyone wants to know. Yes, guys, I'm going to ask him. Online career mode.
It's an interesting topic. You're not the first.
Every year, people want to know.
And it's not, you're not the first one who might have asked me that today. I might have heard it a couple of times.
Yeah,
today.
Of course.
So I will give the answer. That
I know it's on your radar. I know it has been for a while.
I give the answer that I'm giving everyone, that it is on our radar and that we're discussing it, and I can give a bit more insight, and because we want to. I think you know this from this year. We want to be more open in what are we thinking about, what is going on.
Yes.
I think there's still some topics to figure out in online career, and I will give you two really quick examples. One is with private servers. This will be super fun because we already know you will pick your friends as creators. You will create your creator league and you will play it and have fun with it. We have millions of players of career players. Not everyone has like the 4 or 5 friends maybe he wants to play with. So there needs to be public servers, and when you play publicly, what is your experience going to be like? Because there will be the topics of griefing, there will be a topic of players leaving, of players, trying to sabotage transfers just to annoy you, and that is a danger to see of like, this could be a not fun experience in
what if you went down the private only route though?
Exactly. Yes, but again, it would mean the question of like, you need to, as a casual player, you might need to find out how to get to a private server, which is the password, and so on. It is something I discussed today also on stream. It could be an option, a private server. I would love to find a way how people who might be interested in an online career could just go into the game and go into, like public play and have fun. And like just with random people. And so there is some topics that I figured out. There's other topics like how will transfers work? Will it be a round system? Will it be something like all bid at the same time, which means everyone needs to be on? Like there's different ways of doing it. Is it maybe like eBay auctions are working? Like something that you have like a day where everyone can make a bid and then so on, and it's like there's different
so
ideas.
many things you could do with it. Yeah.
So that's why and you know that from having talked to us the years before, we want to do something, we want to do it right and get it in when it's done right. So we have a lot of ideas we're throwing around online career, a lot of feedback we're collecting, as you know, from creators, players, and so on, and it's on our radar, and it's something, again, I won't promise for this is coming in this year or this year, but it's something we're definitely thinking about. How do we get this right? And if we get it right, then we would love to bring it into the game.
Okay, I appreciate that. Last one then, another big new feature this year, the manager events, the live events. Mm-hmm. So this is something that's going to be right from launch.
Yeah.
And we're hoping we're going to have plenty of events all year long.
Yeah, exactly. So what it is and you guys as creators already do this. It's like storylines, challenging yourself how to do a save. But we wanted to bring this to the broader career community, which is basically there's the easy ones like be top at Christmas with the league, or win the Premier League in 2 years, or get a triple promotion like Wrexham did. Like these are some of the challenges we could do, but we can go really crazy. We can be like, you know what? Take Bayern Munich. You have to play Jamal Musiala in 25 games each season. You can only sign players under 23. Everyone over 25 needs to be sold. So your squad age has to be a certain age. Or we even block all transfers. You can only use youth players.
You can go really into this, can't you? There's so many different things you can tweak.
We can make a challenge only youth players from Norway, so to speak. so we can go really
find the new
deep.
Erdegaard.
But we want to combine it also with some live start points. So last year would have been great because we could have said like, hey, take over Nottingham Forest in the winter and actually qualify for the Champions League. That could have been a challenge we could bring in. Because the plan is to update them every week and making it a mix of long-term challenges that we create, mixed with what's happening in the real world, and can we create a challenge out of it? For me as a Frankfurt fan, we would have probably created a challenge like Mamouche just got sold. Can you still go to the Champions League with your best striker?
Or find another striker and sell him for 100 million or more.
Yeah, exactly. So we can do all these challenges, and the exciting part for me, and I think it's because we haven't talked enough about the rewards yet, is that you get retro kits as rewards for them if you finish a challenge. And
Love it.
And again, I don't.
I know there's licensing issues. You can't have every custom kit.
And the other one is I know the old EA joke of like, oh, you're bringing back old features, but I think everyone wished for retro kits and retro jerseys to come back to
kits is always a big topic. People want to make their own kits and stuff. So that's a great option.
And for me, that's the fun part to really have like. You were at the presentation, the 90s Germany jersey, which is one of my favorite jerseys of all time. So having that, for example, there as a reward is really great to see. But also bringing the icons in, you know, as rewards.
Yes, icons,
so that you could, you know, see as an Arsenal fan, like, oh,
Thierry Henry, please.
Ian
Wright. Get the
you
ball
have
in.
Henry as a and you
recreate the Invincibles.
Yeah, you can do that and you know, play a modern career with them and see how is it going. And I think that, again, I know it's not completely authentic, but I love the fantasy and the scenarios you can play with that of you know, using icons and being like I want Okocha back at Frankfurt, and having Okocha in the modern day game and seeing how he's doing, it's going to be so much fun.
Love that. So, as a creator myself, I know this isn't coming in this year's game, but I remember we talked about it a few months ago. I would love to be able to create my own event, my own challenge, and share it with my viewers. Is that something that could be coming in the near future?
It is something we have on our mind.
Like a code
definitely.
that you just send and or invite people
So
in?
how it's exactly going to work is still being figured out, but it's something on our mind because we built basically this tool set in the background to create all these changes. And you guys should have seen the presentation that we were doing. It was like this long list of limitators and blocking and things you can do.
I saw in your presentation yesterday, you had to use such small font because there's just so much, many different things.
And it's definitely a tool we would love to give long term into players' hands and then for players to be able to create their own challenges.
With leaderboards, I want to see, you know, Jeff watching my videos did it in the quickest time or with the least money spent, things like that. It'd be so cool.
It's
so you can expect an MGH Road to Glory challenge coming in the next few years, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely on our radar because it's something we definitely, you know, when we build a tool like that, it would be lovely to give it into players' hands.
Top man, Andreas. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really excited for this year's game. And hopefully you guys can pick up the game when it comes out and you'll enjoy career mode just as much as I will.
Yeah, definitely. Have fun with it.